Are you, always like to start with an online question because we have internet fans from around the world. Do any of you have any use or interest in amazing new technology? Rick, what are you doing with the internet?
I go and look for stuff, and I find things, I download things, I go to mainly music stuff, and music and video things that I find all over the place. And actually I was lucky enough to go to Apple last Thursday and met Guy Kawasaki and got a tour of the place. And I'm just enthralled by a lot of the stuff.
It's astounding the sheer volume of information that you can find on the world.
Well, yeah, there's too much information, but there's also the information that you do need. It's in there somewhere.
That's right. Have you checked any of the other just dozens of sites that are dedicated to, in part or in whole, to your band? What do you think of those?
I like the ones where they spell our names right.
That's the mark of a true fan, I'm told.
Well, actually, our own record company spelled my name wrong for part of it, so but I'm kind of used to that. But it's neat. There's been some video stuff, Bunny in his basement, and Tom and some of his guitars, and Robin. There were some solo music tracks that actually I downloaded some obscure stuff from his solo record, and pictures of my guitar collection. And
now
there's lots of neat stuff, but you gotta. There's a lot of places to go.
That's right. Now, Bunny, did you know you were being filmed in your basement, or did that come as an embarrassing surprise to you later?
I knew, and I still let it happen.
Well, let's talk about, you have a show last night here at the House of Blues, and you have another show tonight. You're on tour in support of the relatively new album called Cheap Trick. Let's talk about where you guys are in 1997. You put out this record on a new label, and prior to that, for a while there, you had no label, right? What was the circumstances leading up to when you got signed by Red Ant? Anyone can answer. Tom, you want to take it?
I have no idea.
You just show up where they tell you to.
It's up to me. We just keep going.
Robin, any?
Well, we set out to make our own record, produce our own record. We got rid of our management, got a new publishing company, get a publishing deal. We basically cleaned out our closets to have more control over what we were doing.
And kind of started all over. And
yeah.
Now this is, would you consider this the 20th anniversary of the band of sorts? Are we about that time period?
Well, we've been together 24 years, so.
This is the
20th recording anniversary.
20th year of making records.
You ever have any idea that it would? I know you knew you had a special lineup when you four got together, but do you have any idea you'd still be talking and singing in 1997?
No way. I don't think we knew we were going to last more than a week.
Well, we like to play music, and it's like like last night, the stage is behind us, covered with a curtain. But I mean, it's like when you look out in the audience, see all these people, some musicians. I mean, we have musicians, we have movie actors, TV actors, and normal just music fans, and it's like they're there to see us. Like what a thrill! I mean, we started off playing in a garage, and so it was a pretty fancy garage here.
And what can you tell us about? It's kind of a Cheap Trick collectible, I guess. This the single that you put out on Subpop this year. How did that come about?
Well, actually, a friend of ours, Ira Robbins, who wrote the liner notes. We had a box set last year called Sex American Cheap Trick, and he wrote the liner notes, and he had this idea about getting us hooked up with Steve Albini, who's a pretty famous record producer. Actually, he's in England right now doing Robert Plant and Jimmy Page, and he wanted to do Brontosaurus by The Move, and also another song by us. And while we were recording the new album Cheap Trick, he came out there for a day, and we whipped out two singles, and it was two sides, and it was a cool single for Sub Pop, and actually it was a piggyback on the first 75,000 copies of our new record. So. And
it actually came out on vinyl, right?
Came out on vinyl, yeah, the original one, and it's a collector's item. It's got cool artwork on it too.
The vinyl 45 still have such a special feel. There's nothing that replaces that, because we all remember growing up and going out and buying the new single by whoever. For me, it was people like Elton John and people like that I went out to buy the records by, and there was nothing like taking it home.
Love it. And then the ones we buy in England always had those little plastic things in the middle.
That's right. That's right.
Cool.
Well, I have questions for you tonight, and we are also taking questions from your fans around the world on the internet. And by now, if you're looking at the site, you know that you can access the chat area of liveconcerts.com. We have already printed out some questions from earlier today. We've been taking questions from your fans.
I wrote some in.
Well, good. Let's see if yours were any good, Rick. Let's start with, this is Rowie, who is writing to us from San Francisco. First of all, I just saw you guys in San Francisco a couple of days ago. I was completely blown away. Cheap Trick pretty much nuked the place. Thanks for a great show. It was the best version of Surrender I've ever heard the band do, which at this stage of the game is saying something, I would imagine. Here's my question. What exactly is the current situation at Red Ant? I guess they had read something in the paper about the label going through some realignment or whatever. Will your next record also be on this label, or do you know?
I'll answer that.
All right.
I have no idea.
You have no idea. All right. Next question also from Rowie. And finally, what collaboration with other artists do you guys have in works for the future? What can you tell me about the Smashing Pumpkins? I know that Billy is a fan of yours, and you guys actually ended up on stage together, right?
Yeah, he the whole band, we played together in Chicago, and they did 3 of our songs. They did Auf Wiedersehen, Baby Loves to Rock, and If You Want My Love, You Got It. Was all 8 of us were on stage together. And it was a smashing version. And but actually, just Bunny and Tom just worked on some tracks with Sass Jordan, I believe, in Canada, and we just got a CD of that. Robin just did a movie bit in Canada for a flick that's coming out with Norm Macdonald and
Now, is that
Chevy Chase.
a musical bit or as an actor?
It's a musical bit. I have to play myself. It's a difficult
That was
role.
tough. I bet.
How do you prepare for a role like that? You don't want to
Not
be
easy.
Stay up all night.
you don't want to be too you. That's the
That's
problem
right.
there. This is from Eric, who's writing to us from New Jersey and signs that he's been a fan since 1977. He wants to know what your favorite song or songs are from your own catalog from each of you, and he says, and here's the warning, don't just say the songs from the new album because you're promoting it. I'd like to know the ones that are really your favorite. So if you have one, why don't we start at the end there and ask Bunny first if you have a favorite Cheap Trick song.
Oh, probably Kiss Me Red.
Kiss Me Red?
I'd say songs from the new album. 'Cause I'm not as sick of it as I am the other ones.
Right, right.
I'd say the next album is my favorite one.
You're over everything else you've done to this point,
The
right?
next one we're going to do.
Right.
I like the song Dream Please still to this day because it reminds me of some dreams that I still have.
I was going through some questions earlier. I didn't bring it, but someone asked, who are the Dream Police and if they are still in your head? They were wondering, and I guess you just answered that question.
Yeah, they are. I mean, my bed was just torn to bits this morning when I got up. And so I was being chased around, and I was only a block away from the House of Blues, so I felt safe. I feel a safe haven here in a house of music.
I remember the first time I ever heard the song Dream Police, it was from John Records Landecker, played it on WLS out of Chicago, which is where, I grew up on the East Coast, but that was the 50,000 watt blowtorch station that covered almost all of the United States at night. And they were very supportive of your music in Chicago. I think that's where I heard most of your new releases throughout the
Landecker, he
70s.
was good. There was a lot of good, we still have a lot of friends in Chicago, actually around the world that, not enough, but we have some good old friends that really helped support our band in the early stages, and we're trying to find where they are now.
Is Chicago still your biggest city, do you think, in the United States?
No, Mexico City, I think, is the biggest city. Oh, but that's not in the United States. I don't know.
You have fans everywhere you go, obviously.
Yeah,
in Chicago, we work there 2 or 3 times a year, so.
Did I read in the box set liner notes, it's hard to keep everything straight, but did one of you work in the Wisconsin Dells for a while? Did I see a reference to the Wisconsin? That is the greatest place in America.
It is?
Well, if you don't live there and work there, as a place to vacation, Tommy Bartlett's Robot World and the Mystery Spot and the House of Foam.
You haven't been around, have you?
It was just in USA Today. I just saw that they had a big splash on the Wisconsin Dells, and all I could think of was trying to get Robin out of Wisconsin Dells. I mean, it used to be a good place.
I worked there during the summer.
Right. What were you doing?
Played in
Were you in
a lounge and a coffee shop up there, played acoustic guitar.
Well, I guess if I was trying to make a living as a musician, it wouldn't be the place, my happiest place on earth, I guess. But as a tourist, it's a lot of fun. Here's a question from Bill Owen, no city listed here. Wants to know, talks about what a phenomenal live act you are. Why are there no Cheap Trick concerts on video or documentaries about the band? Have you guys thought of that in terms of home releases?
I think we're working on one for our 20th anniversary of the Budokan, which we may have some, actually the whole show, and maybe some newer video stuff. For some reason, the people that have the money to do it have not flocked to us, and we didn't think about carrying a VCR around with us. It was probably the most professional way to do it, so we're going to get it done.
I'm sure that...
And plus, if we have it on video, then maybe people wouldn't show up. Somebody show up and see our show. I mean, look at that guy from San Francisco. Said it was a great show, and I just got an email today from another guy who said, if you guys were having trouble with any of your voices that night, I said, I'd like to see you on a good night, because he was saying it was a good show, and I emailed him back and sent him some money, too.
Well, that's nice. I guess the bands today, it's so much easier for them to make a record of what they do because the equipment has gotten so small and portable and easy to carry around. But there's a lot of great stuff that happened in rock and roll that we just don't have video on because it wasn't that common back then. But you say you think video exists of the shows from Budokan?
Oh yeah, it
One
does.
of the shows,
One of the shows?
Friday night show, was television footage.
We did 3 nights there.
With television audio. It was a 60-minute show, came out in Canada 20 years ago. We're hunting that down right now. I think Sony may have it.
You know, even though hundreds of bands have played at Budokan, when you hear the word Budokan, Cheap Trick is always the one that comes to mind. It must, even now, you look back on that, it must have just been a wild time and just such a haphazard series of events that led to the success of that record. I mean, wasn't it really almost just, we're popular in Japan, so let's put this out because we can, kind of a thing?
It was a souvenir of our Japan tour for the fans in Japan. And then it started getting exported out of Japan. It became the biggest import in American history for a record. And we went on a European tour for 60 days. Yeah, we'll put it out in America where we're gone. Then when we get back, we'll get down to business. It was one of those situations.
And there was no way to predict that it would end up selling. It was 5 million or something the last time I heard.
We had a record in the can waiting to go, Dream Police, and it had to be postponed because the record did so well.
Darn it! Because of success, we had to delay one of our records.
What was the story was it a couple of years ago now with Budokan 2? Where did that come from? And did you guys have anything to do with that?
Yeah.
We were
was
the musicians.
You played on the record. Yeah. Hold on, I'm pretty sure Tom knows what happened. Tom?
Budokan 2?
Yeah.
I think it was the songs that didn't make it on the first record. We just put that out. It's the rest of the concert.
No, I understand. I figured
I really don't have any
I figured
idea.
you'd have no idea. Thank you. That's the
Although
answer.
originally the Budokan was supposed to be a double album, but we didn't have time to mix it. We didn't have time to go in and do it. And we thought, well, you know, this is plenty of material because I think if the other half would have come out, I think the other half was like more of the heavier side of Cheap Trick.
And you had to be Foghat really to put out a double live at that time. And you didn't want to do that.
I don't think
That's
we're
correct.
Foghat, even though
Next April is the 20th anniversary of Budokan, and we're going to take all the original set and put it back into sequence, make a CD.
Now, is that a bad sign? Should we be concerned, or should we just go on? Or
Ladies and gentlemen, there's been an
the
earthquake.
show's over. It's a subway.
Glenn, what'd you do?
showbiz is tough.
Oh.
Like Chris Rock said at the MTV Video Music Awards last week, here today, gone today. When it's over, it's over.
It's fast.
Do you know if we're still on? Can we still be heard? Or? Bet this is a thrill for the folks at home. All right, let's do a couple of more emails. And by the way, you can continue to email us again if you're just joining us. We have Cheap Trick here at the House of Blues on Sunset Boulevard in West Hollywood, California. They're doing their second of 2 nights here at the House of Blues tonight. And we are going to give away a Gibson guitar to someone who has emailed in at the end of this show. We will do a drawing from all of the emails that we have received with questions for the band and give it away. Is Gibson one that you play, by the way, Rick? I know you have.
Oh, I have some Gibsons. I have some Hamers. I have some Gretches. I have some Fenders. I have some handmade things. I have a lot of different guitars that I bring on the road. And all of us. Bunny has some guitars he didn't bring any on the road with. He just brings those cool old drums.
Do you have a separate truck that follows behind with all your guitars? It seems like
It's a Brinks truck.
I'm not
Very
surprised.
big one.
Let's do a couple more emails. This one is from Randall in New York City, who wants to know what you remember about working on the sessions for John Lennon's album, Double Fantasy. I guess a couple of you worked on that, right?
Well, Bunny and I worked on it, and I remember it was August 12th, 1980, because my third son was born that day. And
were you there for it at the hospital, or were you missing it because you were in the studio?
I was the only kid that I wasn't around for the birth, but Bunny and I flew in from Montreal.
And you had known the producer, Jack Douglas. That's how you got
we knew
hooked up
Jack,
with it?
yeah. And
Lennon did not have a band at the time? Was that the...
Not really. It was more of a studio thing, and they wanted a harder edge for some of the songs, and so we did the song Losing You and Moving On, and gave them a bit more of an edge. It sounded cool. It was neat working with them. Smoked cigars, ate sushi, played music. What a deal.
So that was back in the days when all the musicians would actually work together in the same room then, right? It wasn't like you had your parts shipped to you.
We were all standing right next to each other, making mistakes in sync, in live. But our new record though too, we all sat in the same room. We sat in a room about the size of this, and it made for a better record.
Well, you guys have worked with, gosh, I bet 10 producers over the course of your career, and there really are thousands and thousands of ways that you can make a record. Is there a way that's better than another, or that works for you better than another, or do you just like to experiment each time when you go into the studio?
There's been, like you said, many ways to record. And we've tried them all, and I'm sure there's some we haven't tried yet.
I think
we
the
probably will.
The best way for a band like us to make a record is make a band record. Go in and record it as a group and do it like a band. As we did last time. Used to do it in the '70s. Technology kind of overcame us in the '80s. You put these drums on, then we'll call this guy, and he'll come in tomorrow and put his bass on. That might work for Petersson or some solo guy, but it doesn't make a great band record.
I've heard so many artists that record it all in the same room because they have to, because they're limited by money, because studio time is so expensive. And then as they get the money, for some reason, the time that it takes to record the record just expands and expands and expands to the point where they're spending 3 months working on a drum track.
Yeah, there's some squirrely rule about that. The more money you got, the more you blow on the next record.
Because you can do it.
Yep.
Bunny, I have a question for you. This is from Montez, right here in Southern California. He says he wants to know how you were able to quit smoking cold turkey.
I quit for one day, and then the next day I did it again, and then after about a week it wasn't so difficult.
Were there no patches, anything like that?
I got a patch kit, and I opened it up, and there was only one patch on it, so I was like, a lot of good this does me.
So it's I guess
one day at a time attitude.
Michelle from Las Vegas wants to know, is it true that Rick was in a Fat Boys movie?
Yes, I was in the movie Disorderlies with Ralph Bellamy and Anthony Geary and the Fat Boys, and man, I was really good in it too.
What happened to those guys?
I think one of the Fat Boys just died recently. Actually, I'm in there for about 15 seconds, and my acting is really quite nice. So since then, we've done all of us have done some TV shows. I did Boy Meets World, and we did a thing called The Watcher, and actually, I mentioned about some of the other things we're doing. I'm also in a new Michael Moore, Roger and Me movie that's coming out. It's called The Big One's coming out in January.
That's right, I've heard about that.
Yeah, I'm in there twice, and we talk about Cheap Trick in there. And it's cool.
It's fun that you get to do stuff like that.
Something
different that you don't
we
have to
didn't have
do for
any
a living.
agents for any of this stuff. It was sort of like this guy knew this guy, and he knew that guy, and before you know
They
it,
find you somehow.
Yeah.
It's like DC Comics gave us a call a
Yeah.
couple weeks ago, and they want to do something with us, and we're sending them some ideas and stuff. So.
Robin's got a great idea for DC Comics.
For a comic book?
There's this guy called Superman. He made this guy
Really,
up
with a
he
cape?
flies and stuff.
Really? I don't know that would catch on. Well, your old friends Kiss had a lot of success with their comic books when
Did they?
They came out.
Yeah, well, they've had a lot of success with a lot of stuff they've done.
They've done all right.
The Bombastic Four.
Let me ask you a couple more questions about
Hi, Uncle Gene. Are you out there?
some Cheap Trick songs. You guys have done some great covers in the course of your career. Who has covered your songs that you've enjoyed? Have there been cover versions of Cheap Trick songs that have blown you away?
Well, there's a whole record of them that's supposed to come out at some point. It's got all kinds of different people doing it, and actually, Bunny just got a tape of Sunvolt.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a great band.
Sunvolt doing Downed, one of our tunes. That was their last encore. And actually, Smashing Pumpkins, they did a version of Heaven Tonight, which is cool. It hasn't been released yet. And Nico Flynn, I love the way he did our version of I Want You to Want Me in French.
Concrete Blonde did Mandicello.
Concrete Blonde did Mandicello.
Oh,
that's
there you
correct.
go.
Milli Vanilli did something by us,
I
too.
want you to want me.
Now, I hope you're kidding about that.
Well, of course.
The real Milli Vanilli, no, not the
Yeah, not
two
the-
guys.
Unfortunately, we never heard about them because they weren't the good-looking ones, right?
Yeah.
They took that away. Here's another email that comes out of the UK that wants Rick wants you to tell the story of Otis Redding's last night.
Well, I was in a band called the Grim Reapers. It was 1967, I think, and was playing at a place with the same address that where our office was for the next 20 years, I think. It was in Madison, Wisconsin. It was Otis Redding, the Barkays, and the Grim Reapers, and Otis Redding that night and the Barkays crashed into Lake Monona, and all those guys got killed, drowned, or I don't know how exactly, but I guess there's a piece of the plane at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, although I've never been in there. I'm not allowed in there, I heard. But so the Grim Reapers, I was in that band.
Wow,
And we played that night too. It was pretty depressing.
And then how did you find out about the accident? Was it the next
Well, no,
next
the people,
morning?
no, because we were supposed to play, and Otis never made the
Oh,
show.
I see. Yeah, I see what you're saying.
So we ended up playing, and everybody was pretty, obviously real bummed out.
Oh wow! Wasn't
You
hear
Lake
his
Monona, Madison, Wisconsin.
you hear his records today, and you can't believe that a guy could have a voice like that. Just so remarkable. There's this new. Have you seen the new Rhino box set, the new 6 CD Soul box set? That you listen to every track, it just blows you away that the music was so good back then. You know, who do you guys like as vocalists? People's voices that? Robin, I should ask you that question.
I like him.
He's pretty good. Who do you admire as a vocalist?
I never really admired vocalists per se. I liked bands, and I liked, you think of a guy like John Lennon. He wasn't really a vocalist, kind of. He didn't have as good of a voice as like Paul McCartney did.
But he knew how to use it.
But I liked his voice better. That's all. You know.
He had more soul.
How about some
More
other
conviction.
contemporary groups that I'm sure you guys hear them all, and a lot of people mention you as an influence. Who do you like that's on the radio a lot now, or that you've run into crisscrossing the country?
I like the Radiohead records, pretty cool. Who else have we heard?
Ween.
Sure.
We played with Beck this summer. He was entertaining. The band was real cool.
Yeah, he's an artist that seems like can do anything.
Seems like it, It's like, plus it's not just
He's a good dancer.
Yeah, it's not the same as everybody else, which is like, being different for the sake of being different is not. That's no big deal. That's easy. But being cool and different, that's
the tough thing to do, right? We have about 3 or 4 minutes left, and then we're going to do the grand prize drawing for those of you who have emailed tonight for the Gibson guitar.
And the winner is Bunny Carlos.
Well, I don't
hey,
think-
Bunny, just take it right here.
I don't think we've drawn that yet, actually,
okay.
right? You guys are on tour right now through how long? What is the game plan for Cheap Trick?
Tomorrow we're in beautiful Las Vegas, opening the Harley Davidson Cafe. And I think we're all getting Harley Davidson motorcycles, aren't we? The true story is Harley, I guess, has never given away anything. They've loaned things. We're playing there tomorrow. Then we're taking about 10 days to do a few things. Bunny's working on some new record things that were coming out this coming year. And then we start a tour with Motley Crue starting October 10th. And it goes till Thanksgiving, then a week off, and then I think we'll resume do some more shows with them. And
what do you think of that as a fit? I don't, in my mind, immediately picture the Cheap Trick fan and the Motley Crue fan being the same person.
Well, they're multi-personality people, schizophrenics, basically.
Mother and daughter.
Yeah, mother and daughter. Here's my wife, and here's my daughter, and there's only one person standing there. You know what I mean?
Now, for '98, more shows. You plan to get back into the studio? What do you think?
A little of each. I mean,
little of each.
Tom's been doing some stuff with the guys in the Mavericks on in Nashville, and we've been working on songs.
Just keeping your options open, I guess.
Yeah, we're getting. Robin's got a portable studio that he drags around on our bus, and I'm getting some stuff for my computer that I plan to use, and we listen and write and conjure up stuff, and then plus we play almost every single night.
It's getting to the point where you can do as much on your computer at a home recording studio at home as you used to be able to do in a real recording studio.
In theory, you can, but one, you have to be. It helps to have an idea, and it helps to be able to write, be a songwriter too.
There's something to be said for doing it in a particular room that sounds great too.
Sure, that's true too. When you, how do you keep the act of touring fresh for y'all when there are some songs you can't leave the room without playing?
Play different cities every night. That's the only way.
Does do you get is it because you know the kid out there or the older fan even is waiting for Surrender? That's what makes it bearable to sing it again, or?
I don't myself. I don't find it that bad. I mean, I like the songs that make people happy and they're fun to play. I mean, if we're doing Hanky Panky or one of the songs like that, it was like. And like even I Want You to Want Me from the original version like we did, which is on our box set, to then on our second album where it's kind of a watered down version, to the live version on Budokan, to the version we do. There's 4 different versions right there of the same song. So it's like you don't. Plus you're playing for a new audience every night, so that if you're playing for the same people, it
would be tough.
Pretty bad.
Do you have some song, like I noticed, if I recall correctly, Don't Be Cruel is not on the box set, for instance? Is that a song that was just fun at the time, but not something you really kind of want people to point to and say, hey, that's Cheap Trick?
That's correct.
That was a video breakthrough for you guys too, wasn't it?
Did well. Yeah, did all right.
We did this. What was the thing we did in Memphis? Tribute to Elvis.
All the King's Men.
No.
Was it around the Elvis Death Week?
No, the thing at the Another thing we did at the Pyramid.
Yeah, well, we were going there expecting to have somebody say, "Oh, you guys can do Don't Be Cruel," because
Yeah,
it was
you already had a hit, you know.
You already had a hit with that song. In fact, Elvis Presley's never had a song, I guess, that was covered by any other band that was a top 5 song at that point. So we're going in thinking we're going to do this song. We get there the day before, and they tell us, "Well, sorry, we gave that to somebody else." So we had to learn
So what'd you have to do?
We learned a completely different song. We did All Shook Up instead.
Yeah, and Don I think, decided it was
Don
best.
wasn't.
Don.